Hi, my name's Liz Driscoll. I'm with North Carolina Cooperative Extension's 4-H Youth Development Program. And today I'm really excited to share an activity that we've developed in partnership with the J.C. Ralston Arboretum for a program we do with middle school youth called Cultivating Science. So everyone, when they're growing a garden, is always wondering, what is going on with my plant when it's not growing the way you expect? A lot of times when you have plant problems, it has to do with something going on in the soil, and that's called soil pH. And so in this activity, we taught our young people to explore the dynamics of pH. What is it? What does it mean? And how does it impact how our plants are growing? So we have a simple activity where we take red cabbage and we use it as a pH indicator. So I'm going to do the activity and then we'll kind of process all of the different steps that we know after we've done it. So first, take a chunk of red cabbage. You don't need the whole head. You can just take a quarter or less and make it into big chunks because you're going to put it into the blender. So the finer you cut it, the easier it is to put it in the blender. This activity, if you're doing it with youth, make sure that you have taught them proper knife skills so that everybody is safe and we don't have any fingers that are being cut. So once you have your chunked up cabbage, take a blender and you're going to pour your cabbage in the blender. And this is a lot of cabbage. You could do it with a little bit less. After you have your cabbage in the blender, heat up some water. You can just put a couple of cups of water in the microwave and heat it up, or I have a little tea kettle. So take your hot water, pour it in here. Enough so that it'll blend smoothly. And I'm just going to put it on for a couple of pulses. And you don't need to pulverize the cabbage. You just want to chop it up enough so that the anthocyanins, the purple red pigments that are inside the cabbage are water soluble and they'll move into the water. So let it sit for as much as 20-30 minutes, and I've already done that over here. So this is cabbage that we did exactly the same thing, chopped it up, blended it, added hot water to it. Now I'm going to put it through a strainer like that. We're going to take this purple liquid and pour it into some test tubes. All right, you don't need a whole lot, but just enough so that what you're going to ask your youth to do is you're going to ask them to find liquids and explore this notion of acids and bases. So we know that our water is neutral, which is a pH of 7, right in the middle. Our pH scale is from 0 to 14. So things that are below 7 are acidic. Things that are above are basic or alkaline. And so lemon juice or vinegar are both acidic solutions. And so invite your youth to take a little bit. We're going to start with some vinegar and invite them to put it into the test tube that has the cabbage juice in there. You can ask them to make a prediction about what they think will happen. You can tell them that it's going to change color and ask them what color they think it might change. So they take this and they can start with 1 drop, 2 drops, 3 drops, 4. You can have them quantify the number of drops they're putting in, or that you can just have them explore. And if I put a lot in, you can more easily see, I have a little stir here, you can see that this juice has gone from purple to pink. So you can see a good comparison there. So then ask them to explore, what does it look like? What color changes happen when you use a base? Baking soda is a really good base to use. I've just added a couple of teaspoons of baking soda to neutral water and mixed it up. I'm going to take another pipette and have them make a prediction about what color they think the water will change to now. And again, you can count the number of drops. You can just have them pour it in, depending on what kind of program you're doing. And hopefully on this one, you can see that once we mix it up, our water has turned a bright blue. So compared to that purple that we started with. And from here, what's kind of neat is you can begin to talk about, well, why does this matter? Who cares if you know what the pH of your soil is? With plants, we know that plants prefer sort of a wide range of growing of a pH of maybe anywhere from 5.5 to 7. So they prefer that it's slightly more acidic. And why that's important is plant nutrients are available depending on what pH range you're in. So nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium are readily available for plants to take up through their roots if they have a slightly acidic pH. If it's a little bit more alkaline or a little more basic above that 7, like this, then it's harder for them to use those nutrients in the soil and bring them up into the plant for proper functions. So from here, you can ask the question, well, what happens if you have a soil that is really alkaline? What can we do about it? Some of your clever youth might say, well, let's add a base and see what happens. So you can actually have them, grab another pipette, take a little bit of their acidic solution and pour it into here. And what you begin to see is that it's going to return that vinegar and is reacting a little bit. It'll begin to return to neutral. So you can begin to see how if you add more acidity, you can change the pH of your soil. So that's one thing, but this isn't exactly soil. So how do we figure out what kind of pH is in our soil? Well, you can do a soil test and send that out to the North Carolina Department of Agriculture, the soil testing lab. They'll tell you exactly what kind of pH you have and recommend nutrients to amend your soil. You can use pH paper as one way to begin to get a general idea of what soil you have, where you take this paper and take a little strip of it, and you can actually put it into your solution and it'll change color, and then you match that color with a little code, a little key that's up here, okay? Or what's really kind of cool is you can actually make your own pH paper. So just take a couple of strips of a coffee filter that you've cut up, okay? And once you do that, you can lay it into your cabbage juice, and then you're gonna set it aside to dry. So we'll just kind of drape it across here, and you can do a couple of these. And once these pH papers have dried, you can get a little soil sample that you have, mix it up with some water, and in that sort of water solution, dip your pH paper and see what color it turns. Does it turn kind of a bluish color? Then you know that you have an alkaline soil. If it turns a pinkish color, you know that your soil is a little more acidic, and that could be perfect for growing your plants. So, Cultivating Science, it's a new program that's a partnership between North Carolina 4-H and the J.C. Ralston Arboretum, and we'll have a lot more to come. If you have any questions, please contact me, Liz Driscoll, and I'd be glad to talk further.